What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome back to another episode of Mind to Motions. I am Theo.
I'm Hali.
And today we're going to be talking about commitment. Now, commitment is a conversation that I've already had in one of the previous 5 episodes which I've talked about before. And I wanted to resurface this conversation, obviously, with Hali, because I think it's a very, very important conversation for young people, particularly. I think as you get a little older, it can be harder to kind of tap into it, but it's imperative for young people, you know, early teens turning into adults, I think, for them to appreciate the importance of being committed. Now, how I think that relates directly to mental health is that I look around and I see so many people in the world that, you know, they're just kind of making moves and just kind of floating through life, following the vibe, as opposed to actually planning and preparing and being prepared for where life might take them. So it's not necessarily a sense of saying I need to know where I'm going, because that's never going to happen. But I definitely see a lot of people that are just moving through life without any level of commitment to things. And if we're being honest, I think we live in a time now where commitment's probably at its lowest point. Yeah. When it comes to attention online, when it comes to relationships, religion, career paths. I think we're moving in a time where everyone is kind of absolving themselves of being committed. Yeah. And then they're also championing it. Yeah. So people are like, yeah, I can just do what I want, when I want, wherever I want. Only a few amount of people on the planet can actually do that. You need an exorbitant amount of money. You know what I mean? And if you don't tend to have commitment, what I've seen is that those traits can kind of follow through into other versions of your life, with finance, with relationships, with business, all these different things. So I just think that commitment is such an important factor when it comes to mental health, because it's going to really dictate the direction that you're going in, and also your willingness to kind of fight through adversity and tough times. But so yeah, that's kind of how my thoughts initially on what I think kind of commitment is and how it relates. But like, what's your thoughts on it, Hali?
Yeah, so for me, commitment is sort of the thing that sets apart two groups of people, essentially. Yeah. So and although like that could be arguably, like, it could be argued now, because, you know, by the way that society is right now, or at least before the pandemic, because I think now we're starting to move back into that. But what I mean by that is that pre-pandemic we started to see a society where it was very fast-paced. And although it's still very fast-paced right now, but I think the pandemic had an influence in making sure that it goes more slowly, making sure that people focus on the things that add value to their lives, things that are more important, and having the ability to be able to focus on those as well. I think that's what the pandemic was like. That's one of the key things that people took out of that. It's realising which aspects of their life actually add value and are important to them, whether that's physically, mentally, in just like well-being in general. And but before that, obviously we started to see this very fast-paced, quick environment and like social environment in general. We had, you know, like, it was, you know, trends, for example, in fashion, like seasons just come in and go. You've got like you know, someone that, you know, digital platforms where someone could become like a star, or YouTube star overnight.
Viral videos.
Exactly. And just this general sense in like in people, in society, where we think just you can become anything you want, just because obviously we see it in other industries. So we start to think that anywhere in general, it's about just gaining either quick access, quick money, or gaining quick fame.
Or discard it.
Exactly. So we just in general as a society, I think we just had this mindset where we just felt like you can get anything you want without properly having that commitment and putting in the work, and really just like having, you know, being disciplined and committed in a certain thing and build on that to be able to achieve success. I feel like our mindset, like in the past few years, really like like it skewed, like it moved from like shifted. Whereas before, like, you know, where you go like into certain specific like work, and they would say like you need to be committed, you need to have worked in a specific job for over 5 years. Now people, to gain the experience, now people work in certain sectors and careers for like 1 to 2 years, and they move on to the next thing. And really now a lot of people think employers, as well as like just in general, think that makes a well-rounded individual, and that actually achieves more success. So that's why I said it's arguably now. But to me, I feel how commitment links into mental health is really the aspect where I see it as, if you have less commitment, I feel like you have less clarity. I feel like the aspect in which commitment, like how the clarity that commitment provides, is what sets someone basically stand out, make someone stand out compared to those that don't have that. I think that's the thing that gets disacknowledged, is the clarity that is added when you're committed to something. Because I believe that when you're committed to something, you gain understanding, and naturally you gain more knowledge in that specific aspect of whatever that is that you're committed to. You gain more knowledge, it gives you a sense of peace, and with that comes a lot of clarity. You gain a better understanding of whether, you know, you do like that thing or you don't like it, or how you can improve it, how you can work on it to achieve more success where you've gone wrong in that specific aspect. So I believe that's the thing that really guides and steers us to bad and poor mental health and good mental health, because with that commitment, then you're with that clarity, then attaches the clarity, then could really like help you, guide you in a direction in which you'll be happy in. And without the commitment, then you could really just like sail towards the side where you're just going about life with a lot of confusion, you don't know which direction to take, and then that is the aspect where it leads to like poor and bad mental health. So to me, I feel like that's what's really, that's the biggest benefit that commitment has had in my life. It's served as a great clarity to the things and aspects that I value in my life. For example, like, you know, my religion,
I was actually going to ask,
culture, as well as just like my career goals as well, where I see myself fit into society. What job role like do I serve in society? So having a commitment, being committed in those areas of whatever aspect that is, has helped me gain more knowledge, gain more clarity, and just like kind of like help eliminate all the things that are unimportant. In a world that is fast paced, fast moving, you can really just get lost in any direction.
Absolutely.
So I think that's the biggest benefit that I would say commitment has really offered in my life.
I'd definitely like to add on to that, and in the interest of us discussing clarity, just kind of further on that point, we like to give examples as well. You know, like this conversation, I think it's kind of irrelevant unless you're willing to kind of, you know, bring up something that actually could provide some information and some value to somebody out there. So, you know, taking my personal experience, I started playing football at the age of about 6 or 7 years old, and I'm still involved in the game today. Still been, like, I wouldn't say I'm actively been playing for a while, but, you know, I've been involved in and around the game from since the age of 6 or 7, and I played for a football club when I was young. I played at Watford Academy, and I was there for 10 years. And that enabled me to transfer those skills into the educational system, aka university, which is something I wanted to do. But without those 10 years worth of experience and that commitment, like you talked about with clarity, there would be no clarity. I'd still have a lot of questions of like, what am I going to do? How does this actually, am I good at this? Can I transfer any of these skills into the real world, into other career paths? So in relation to commitment, what I would say is that when I was younger, I definitely remember feeling left out when I was in commitment to something, because there is sacrifice. If you're going to be committed to something long term, it means you're likely to sacrifice something else long term, or at least for a period of time, so that it allows you to kind of build on what you're building on. So in my particular case, as I said, I look back on those times where I had to sacrifice and I wasn't able to go and do things and enjoy and have fun, and short-term success, if you will. I was always kind of picturing that longer goal, always picturing something that I would eventually get to, what I'm building towards. So how I would say that relates to commitment is there will be certain things in life that you will never attain because you haven't put enough commitment into it. So we can see certain things in the world now at our fingertips. So we've got mobile phones, we've got technology, we've got, all of these things are available to us. But how many people actually get to utilize these things? How many people actually get access to these things? Yeah. As opposed to just seeing it. Seeing it is one thing, because seeing sometimes can be believing, and then I can build to it. However, if there actually isn't a process and a commitment to what you're trying to work towards, it's almost irrelevant. Yeah. It's almost a waste of time, because you're not going to be willing to go through the adversity. You're not going to be willing to sit and be patient, and not get instant gratification, which is what online does for us now. It gives you that social media gives you instant clicks, feeling you can check in, you get your dopamine from just attention online. People feeling like they're tapping into what you're doing. But I definitely would say that if you don't have something you're committed to long term, then you're going to be distracted by everything short term, and there is no really there's no balance, unfortunately, for it. It's a case of you have to hone in on things that you are good and passionate about for a long period of time and be committed to them, and deal with the adversity, deal with the ups and the downs and the lack thereof, until you get to that point where you start to discover the clarity, because the clarity will never come up front. It will never come from just clicking on a YouTube page and watching a video. It will never come from seeing somebody's Instagram page and just reposting or resharing. It comes from being committed to things long term, and eventually over periods of time you start to learn things. Like, again, bringing it back to my personal experience, about 4 or 5 years into playing football, when I was about 12, 13, that's when I started to see the difference of what all that work was doing. Because I looked around at players who were starting to play or still kind of playing for fun at 12 and 13, and we were in two different worlds now. So when we first started, everything's Sunday league fun, everyone's all playing for fun, enjoying it. I became very committed to it quickly. Now 4 years down the line, there's certain kids that they just can't play with me now, because I took it too seriously. I need to be in an environment, a more professional environment, just like many other kids out there who get elevated up to the next level. But it's because of the commitment. It's because of those days where I couldn't go to the party. I couldn't go to the theme park and things like that. So there's sacrifices within those struggles, patience, timing, and willingness, and staying power, and things like that. So I can look around today and I see so many people that have such a short attention span. It's almost like you can't keep their attention, and they're proud of it. Like, I move on to the next thing. If it don't work, move on to the next thing. And it's like you'll never actually know what you're doing or what value it brings to you unless you spend enough time in it. So, for example, if we did one episode and never saw each other again, it's irrelevant. It doesn't mean anything. But the mere fact that we wanted to even do this project was because we've already had things in the past where we've done together. So there's a commitment of time, there's a commitment of energy, commitment of ideas, and that shouldn't be taken for granted. And I think that's unfortunately what most of the world is doing today, is essentially taking a lot of things for granted. We can just travel here, can just jump in the car, jump on a plane. We can just go click a button and food shows up to our house. Like, we have become so comfortable
Yeah, everything is just quick now. Everything is just like to our fingertips. Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Like, and it's like just like going back into like what you said about like if you don't spend enough time in doing something, then you won't really and fully understand like what was it that you said, like you don't,
it's just like you'll never get the value back.
You never get the value from it.
You'll never learn what you get to where you need to get to.
Exactly, get where you need to get to. So with that, like, absolutely, like I resonate with that absolutely, because I think I would totally agree. I think in anything in life, whatever that it is that you do, that you're comfortable in, that you're passionate in, whatever, there's gonna be things that you take out of it, whether that's like positive things or negative things. But regardless, negative things, there's gonna be learning as well that you take out of it. If it is like negative stuff, there's gonna be learning that comes out of it. And learning, when you're constantly learning, you're constantly evolving, and the more that you learn, the closer and faster that you move to get into the position where you should be and live in a more fulfilled life.
Facts.
And so that's where I guess like where like commitment comes in, because like you said, if you're not committed to spend a certain amount of time really seeing something through and being committed to learning about it and progressing in that, then you're really missing out on the learning. You're missing out on the things that you could really like get, so you can progress, that you can take from it. Exactly. So then essentially you will just like in a way stay in the same place, because you're starting something and you're ending it without getting that full benefit before you progress into something else.
That's it.
So in anything in life really, you need an element of commitment to be able to move on and gain something out of it.
I agree 100%.
So
like, I mean, as I said, these conversations that we have really are all about just pulling out finer details in general topics. So a lot of the things that we talk about, they're common. They're commonly spoken about in the real world. Commitment, passion, failure. These are all things that essentially people know about. They know that these things exist. However, they become words.
Just words.
As opposed to actions. So when we say be committed, when we say be resilient, when we say be passionate, when we say don't be afraid of failing, and these terms, unfortunately, they come with work, they come with time, they come with dedication and patience. And there's not enough people just willing to have that.
Definitely.
Everything is now, and the worst is unfortunately people who put a short amount of time and effort into projects or things, but they get the rewards. Unfortunately, they have a very skewed version of reality.
Oh, definitely.
And those people go out into the world and inflict that and share that with others, further skewing others. Because let's say we just take two examples. Let's take the example of the person who stays committed for a long period of time, and somebody who jumps into something quickly and gets the results quickly.
Get short-term success.
If we're going bringing it right back to ground zero, and we was going to educate and teach somebody, you would never try to teach them.
You won't cut corners.
The cut corners route. We've never. Like, I remember being at school, football. They always used to say, "Don't cut corners. Don't cheat yourself. Make sure you put the effort in. Do work that you would so basically work as if somebody was consistently watching you.
Or as if work as if I remember just coming from a biomedical background, in my degree, we'd have to we had a lab book for anyone out there doing biosciences, and you have to literally put down anything that you do in the lab. You have to make sure that you write down every single instruction, and it has to be detailed as well to the 0.01%, and that is just so anyone else who was to redo your work can do exactly how you had done it and get the exact same results, and then progress from that.
That's pretty deep.
And I think it's like kind of like the same. Yeah, and I think it's like kind of the same. So it's like, how are you meant to add value to something that you'd established without knowing how to redo it again, so you can move up from it?
So true. So basically, if you can't teach it, is it worth really investing into?
Exactly. Like, and you can't build on it as well, because that's it. Once it's taught and it's not maintained, that knowledge is just like in a way like just disposed. Then you're kind of starting from scratch. And especially if you're cutting corners, because then there might have been something that you've done and you can't replicate that and do it again. And then you'll be missing parts as you go along. You'll be missing key components of the story. So when somebody comes along and they have the complete package, you'll never be able to match up or compete with them. If it's in that setting. Sometimes it's just regular and social as well. I'm moving that into like mental health as well, I suppose. That's where it kind of like adds on to that, is where, like you said, when you see someone and they're, let's say, like they're in a good place in life and they're happy and fulfilled in most of their aspects and, you know, whatever pertains to their life, and you sometimes think, oh, I want that, like how do I get into that sort of state? And there's something that you've missed but you don't know what it is, and that's where commitment comes in, is that they've committed to like make sure that they have a healthy lifestyle and be in the situation that they're in, and didn't cut corners, and you've kind of sort of maybe have cut corners and weren't as committed enough. Therefore those little parts that you're looking for to try and get to their place, you can't find because you've cut corners, and you're kind of left with one option, which is start again, and this time don't cut corners, just be committed, and you will get the same kind of like result as, you know. 100%. I do it like commitment and conviction are kind of closely tied, aren't they? Because it's like you can be committed. So let's say, for example, you know, there's layers almost to commitment, because it's like showing up to work. Say you got a 10-hour shift, you could stay and complete the whole 10-hour shift, which could be considered being committed, but then that close tie of conviction comes in very shortly after. So again, taking it back to personal experience, playing football, I could have just shown up to training. However, it was the conviction of what I wanted to do when I was in that environment too. So it wasn't just show up, be there, and that's going to be enough. That's one part of it. Then the conviction of your commitment is what separates and will really adds that clarity, what you talked about at the beginning. Absolutely. Those corner pieces. Imagine if it's a circle. Like you have to think of it like, I start on the circle, and now I'm journeying, I'm being committed, I'm staying focused, I'm learning value, I'm learning resources, I'm learning how to educate, teach others, like you said in biomedical. And then you come back around to a full circle. Because you can now visibly look at what you've done and say, hey, I started here, did that wasn't so good, need to improve that, that was a positive, maybe need to be a bit more committed there, but I have the ability to now educate and teach somebody, at least the basics. Now you're starting, and there's nothing but revolutions, but that commitment, you never move forward. As you said about cutting corners, say you miss something out, that's essentially you trying to skip a part of the circle. It's like, instead of me going around here, I could just quickly drop down here, cut that arc out, and then it will speed up my learning curve. When people say speed up your learning curve, depending on what you do, that can actually happen. However, if you have got the time, why not spend the time learning everything? As opposed to skipping a certain section just to get something beneficial for you. Now, if we're talking finances, business world, this is where it gets a little bit more nuanced, where essentially certain times, hey, we ain't got time to be sitting down and brainstorming for 6 months. I get that. However, you should be looking at some point to come back to that. So if you can't do it now, fine, but don't put it off now. Don't cut the corner just because it's not beneficial for me right now. And see, that's why I think mental health comes in as well, because you look at industries, people are fearful of
taking too long to get somewhere.
Oh yeah.
I mean, pretty sweet. Like you get into your 30s and your mid 30s, and you haven't quite achieved what you needed to yet. The world starts to paint a different picture of you.
Absolutely.
So it starts to say, are you actually heading in the direction you're supposed to be? Are you gonna get there? Are you putting in enough? Or just doubt.
Yeah,
a lot of doubt. A lot of you're at this point now. What are you doing?
Yeah.
When in fact, when you think about life, it would take us almost 10 lifetimes to really learn everything we need to. So we've only got one. So really, everyone is going to have some areas where they haven't quite figured out, or some corners that they had to cut. So we're not sitting and saying you can't cut a corner ever and expect to get anything. What we're saying is that there will potentially be things after you've cut those corners that you just can't get back now. So it becomes a toss-up of what you're willing to do. How valuable is your time? Are you willing to just cut through all of those corners quickly, thinking that you can shortcut yourself to commitment or to where you need to get? Or are you willing to say, you know what, I'll take my time, be patient. It might take me double the time, but I will have double the knowledge, double the impact and the value when I get there. And then that's also that completeness, that fulfillment that we're seeking comes from those things, from completing a circle, from completing a cycle. So that's kind of how I think directly that relates and can affect your mental health on a day-to-day basis, because without those points that we just mentioned, you don't have a complete package. So you'll move around in the world and you'll be pulled and pushed and moved by other people who are committed. Because they have conviction in what they do. They know exactly where they're going, or they're at least working towards it. So those are individuals we tend to follow. Those are individuals that we tend to say, okay, this person knows what they're talking about. Like, I'm going to follow them and see what they say, because I can learn from that. As opposed to the person who has a shorter attention span, and they're just hopping and skipping from project to project. Because you can't learn from that.
And that's why naturally, like, people tend to levitate towards those people that are natural influencers and educators. And I'm not talking about the influencers that we currently have, social influencers.
That's not influencing.
I'm talking about a more historical approach of influencing, like someone who's like an educator and someone who empowers other people to get into the positions that they are in, based on the opportunities that they can provide and the knowledge that they're able to give out. I see them as the real influencers, people that do that, pass on their knowledge. And I feel like that's what people levitate towards, those people that have a story to tell. And that can sort of capture every single aspect that they've experienced in their past life to get to the stage that they are right now.
That's it.
I don't know about you, Thea, but I tend to anyway levitate towards those kind of people. That can trace back to the whole career and tell me how they got to the place that they can, and they're able to let me know on where they maybe made mistakes or where they could have taken up opportunities, and how I can then take up those opportunities that they had maybe missed out. But why they're so important is because they're able to give you that knowledge of, like, in a way, like a bit of not step to step, because like I said, world is changing, and what they've gone through in life and in certain sectors or career or whatever might not have been different, or might not really relate to the world that we have right now. We might have to take a different route and like different avenues. But the sort of like skills, maybe the skill set, the foundation is there, and they're able to give that to you, so then you can then lead onto that direction yourself. And moreover, they're also able to give you that sort of feedback and analysis of where they thought they could have improved, and where they now see that there would have been opportunities if they had taken this and this and this, and they could like really directly, like, just in steps feed that back to you and help you get to where you are. And I feel like they're like the real influencers, that are able, and they're the people that have stayed committed. They're the people that have learnt the profession, they have become real professionals in what they do, because they've committed themselves to that specific thing, and they can trace back to every aspect, and can also analyze where they went wrong and how they can help the newer generation or people who want to get to the stage where they are at, and tell them directly how they can also get to where they are.
Yeah, I want to. Sorry, just to add on real quickly to that, because it just made me think about school teachers and teachers in general. It's like of course they don't get a lot of shine in society. They don't tend to get a lot of big ups, because the reason why I think that they are very important is because they are one of our first resources outside of our parents who begin to teach you formulas. They start to teach you ways of learning, because it's not necessarily about what you're being taught, it's about the process of the transfer of information. So that's why I got a big shout out to all of the teachers out there, professors, and then anybody who shares information is trying to kind of break that down and educate people, because the real true value in life begins there. Because essentially we all have a passion, right? Like, we all have something we're interested in, but many of us need or require a teacher or a parent or somebody that gives us that first start in that thing we're passionate about. So that's why I find it difficult to not be humble and to not look back and appreciate others, because without them introducing certain things to you in life, without them teaching you certain concepts, you may never know what you actually enjoy in life. So, like, massive shout out to all of the teachers that have probably helped to avoid so many mental health breakdowns from many people, because what they've done is that they've essentially made the best of what they have. Ideally, the best form of education would be for you to sit down with a teacher who's educated and then be able to see that through. So essentially everyone being homeschooled in a schooling environment. That's just unrealistic. We're never gonna get like access to a full teacher for 10-15 years unless you come from a wealthy background. So the majority of us have to go to schools and we're around hundreds of kids, maybe it's 20 or 30 kids in each class group. The teacher is having to deal with 20 or 30 different personalities, 30 different passions. Like, they may not all be interested in science, math, whatever the class is. They may not be interested in it, but there are things within that are going to add to what you're trying to learn, what you're passionate about. And see, that's why I think school is difficult, because of the way it's structured. And it's difficult to get that information across to individuals who are just not focusing, or they're not built to focus that way. You know what I mean? So it's like their way of learning is being outdoors and running around and observing nature. And then these guys, they enjoy analytical breakdowns where they need to make notes, and it really gets into their heads. Everyone's different. So unfortunately we can't take a whole group of kids who are exactly the same and just teach them together. And even if we did, I think that would have negative effects too, because you're missing out other areas. So, like, essentially what we're getting at is you need a holistic approach to education, regardless of what you think and what you actually are passionate about. You need a holistic approach to the way you learn, so that you're able to kind of say, I don't necessarily like maths. Like, me personally, I don't like maths as a subject, but boy am I glad that I have certain foundational things that help me calculate, that help me break down figures, that help me estimate. You know what I mean?
Things that you can take onto your everyday life and use now, which otherwise wouldn't have been there without that foundation, without that build up. Absolutely. I think another thing that I wanted to touch base on is the other aspect that you mentioned about timing, and how, like, at a particular time, like, life expects you to be in a particular position. Age. So one thing that obviously when we do talk about commitment is we tend to highlight how, you should be committed and you should be disciplined enough to make sure that the biggest buzzword right now is consistency. Like, you need to be consistent, otherwise you're not going to make it. That's easier said than done, obviously, we know. But then I guess the part that people don't talk about is the part where we talk about how lonely that journey is. Because it can be a lonely journey, like Theo mentioned. You know, sometimes you have to. Because when you follow a particular trait, not everyone's gonna, especially if it's something as hard as commitment. You know, commitment is you have to be strong-willed and have a sense of resilience and a sense of discipline as well, to truly be committed to something and then also stay in that commitment for a very long period of time. You have to have all of those other aspects, so, you know, patience, discipline, all of that stuff. And with that being said, that makes then commitment a little bit more difficult and challenging. And with it being difficult and more challenging, that's where like it adds to a separation amongst those who are committed and those who are not committed. And then when there is that separation, you tend to find yourself to be quite lonely in certain times of life as well. When you're committed into something, you miss out on opportunities, or maybe like events or social interactions with your peers or whatnot. But I think the important aspect to remember is, again, going back to just like the benefits that it might offer, and the shortcuts that you're not taking when you're staying committed in something. Because although you think you may have missed out on that kind of stuff that you could have taken up, you're staying committed with a bigger aim and a bigger outcome for where you want to be in long term. So in long term, if you're committed is to be healthy and in a place where you're happy and fulfilled in, you're going to avoid all that mental health breakdowns and catastrophe, because you have gained all the different knowledge and skill sets and experience from staying committed in that particular thing, to eventually leading yourself into success in that thing as well. And you will be in a much happier place. So although you got to miss out in that like other parts of it, there's a bigger, greater success based on that commitment that you had put in. So what I want to highlight is that, talking about commitment is, you know, we can talk about here and tell you about the benefits and all of that stuff. But like everything else, you know, it's not always straightforward, and there are times where it can be quite lonely. And I guess that's where discipline and, you know, patience kicks in, and really just like, I guess like where you find yourself, because I think, like I said, with commitment, like it could really like just help you uncover what you're really like put on this earth for, like uncover like what you're made to do and where you want to go as well. Because then you get to really build a foundation on something and really gain a lot of knowledge from the thing that you stayed committed in. Agreed.
I mean, like, just to kind of sum this all up, I mean, I'll let you obviously have the final thoughts, Hali, but I'd say for each individual who's out there who's maybe listening, all of us have a commitment to something. It's just you have to be aware what you're committed to. You know, a lot of people are indirectly connected to or committed to something without really realizing it, and that's where I think the real danger lies. I think that the lack of awareness of what these things that we're discussing, because it could be commitment, it could be passion, it could be failure, it could be your state of mind, it could be multiple different things. It's the awareness of where you currently are, which is, I think, that's where people start to struggle and where the mental health comes in. Because it's the lack of understanding that builds that sense of doubt, that builds that sense of fear, that anxiety, that lack of trust, because you're seeking answers, you're seeking out information, and sometimes you may be getting misled. Some people might be, you know, spinning you a yarn and telling you, hey, no, just do this and you'll be just fine and you'll just make loads of money, it'll be all good, don't worry. And you do all of that stuff, you make the money, and you're like, I still feel like rubbish, I still feel like crap. So you have to be, I think, aware of all of these things first. And even if you don't necessarily have the answers for yourself in terms of what I'm committed to, what I'm passionate about, what I'm like fearful of losing, but if you are at least aware that these things exist, you can start to break them down, and you can start to ask questions, and you can start to figure some of these things out slowly but surely. Some take longer than others, but ultimately you do need to discover and figure out what they are before you become any level of success, or before you step into the shoes that you want to walk in.
And that in itself is commitment too, like uncovering to find what it is that you want to do, what it is that you are passionate about and want to stay committed in. That itself is commitment, because your commitment to improving yourself.
That's it.
I feel like the first commitment that we should all have in life is commitment to commitment in ourselves, like taking care of ourselves, whether that being physically, mentally, as we're talking about right now. That should be the first commitment, making sure that you are well mentally, in order to fulfill all your other commitments. You know, so in itself, that you exploring and finding out what areas you're passionate in, that is commitment. You're committed to finding who you are. So commitment does come in various different forms, and like Theo said, I think it's definitely very important to explore those, so you're not just taking something up and then being committed, and later on finding out, oh, actually I'm not really passionate in that and I wasted my time and stuff. Not that you would have wasted your time, like I said, you gain something out of everything that you do, but it just, like, I guess, like, exploring and making sure that you're open, like, you making sure that you have that initial commitment of staying happy and initial commitment of being mentally and being healthy and well. If you have that, you will always, like, just guide yourself in a direction which makes you happy, and a direction that in which you're meant to, like, take on. So I think it's important to know that it is like very, like, multifaceted, and it's not just like in a one direction, like, oh, I'm committed to this, I continue going in that. The initial commitment is exploring the avenues, is exploring what you're good at, what you're not good at, what you like, what you don't like. Because that's essentially, like, the first commitment is being committed in who you are and being well. Number one, as the number one rule, I think. That's it.
Well, I mean, like that's what I said, this platform's all about the health and wellness, and, you know, strength of mind, and, you know, that's why what the title is, Mind to Emotions, is essentially for us to sit down and have these conversations that begin upstairs. They begin with our thoughts, but they don't stay there. And I think this is why it's important to showcase action, even commitment of us coming down on a Sunday to film content. It showcases a level of commitment to people out there watching, and even to self. That, you know, you are aware and conscious of what goes on upstairs in terms of your mind, but then you're also able to find ways to actually get that out into the real world, to actually practice and actually improve upon it. So for commitment, I would definitely say, hopefully some of these things you've probably already heard before in different formats. It's not like, as I said, we're not reinventing the wheel here. We're merely impressing upon the importance of this, and kind of getting a lot of people out there to pay attention as well. In this world that we're living in now, which is a lot more fast paced, it's more about, like, instant gratification. Everyone wants things at their fingertips. I think we need to constantly have a balance for any healthy society to exist. The moment that things become too skewed in one direction is usually when we tend to see more problems arise. And mental health is a great example of that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So just to just chuck out a question out there, Theo, if there was like if anyone out there is watching and was thinking, like, well, what would be, like, a tip that you would give them if they were to ask a question, like, what would be the first initial thing to do for me to try and stay committed, I guess, into something, or
find commitment or stay committed?
I guess a bit of both, like find committed and then stay as well.
Well, I think the first step for commitment would essentially be discovery. Discovery upon things that you actually are committed to, and a way to discover doing that could be through, one, a process of elimination, or two, just sitting down and actually making some notes, jotting down some notes about, even if you can't think of a career path per se, or a job or a title, you know, maybe get rid of that and just reduce it to words. Now, think about words that come up in your head that you're passionate about, or you know, certain words that you like. It's kind of an easy way to do it. Why? Because what's going to happen is your mind creates answers for you, even if you don't know what the answer is. So you may just sit down and just get a notepad out and just jot down 5 to 10 words that just pop into your head that are, you know, considered, that you think about, that has meaning to them. You know, whether that's like success, money, finance, entrepreneurship, you know, entertainment, sport, whatever. Within there, you're going to find there's going to be key things that relate to you, because there's a reason why you think the way you think. There's a reason why you do the things the way that you do. So I think it's important to hone in on why you have the routine that you have, why you do the things that you do. And a great way to start, if you are struggling to figure out, is just take out a notepad, maybe jot down a few keywords, 5 to 10 words, and then see how those words relate to your actual day-to-day life. Are they positives? Are they negatives? Is it something that you could turn into a career path? Is it already a career path? If it is, do you know anyone in that field, or would you like to get into that field? Do you know what I mean? Like there's so many more questions where it's not a black and white. However, you can get started in the journey of knowing, okay, definitely. Here's how I could find out what I might be committed to. And then another great way is to just look at your general day-to-day life and just kind of hold yourself accountable for things that you do on a day-to-day. I mean, nobody's perfect, or no one expecting us to be. So everyone, as I said, has good days, bad days. They make mistakes, they mess up, but on a routinely basis, you'll typically do a certain amount of things. There's a routine of things, whether it's cooking, cleaning, self-care, working out, music, entertainment, whatever. There will typically be a range of things that you do, whether it's by choice or not by choice. So some things you have to do because you've got bills to pay, kids to feed, those sorts of things. But then on the other side, you might have things that you just, no, I'm just going to do this regardless. I'm going to make the time to do this. And they're probably more of the things that you actually really enjoy doing. So you need to make a mental map of your life, essentially. And it sounds weird to say that, but most successful people, they tend to have a mental map of things that they do, what they're good at, strengths, weaknesses, and just get familiar with who you are as a person. And as I said, there's great ways to do it. You don't have to sit and think about, what do I really enjoy? What am I passionate about? That might be difficult for you. It might be many things. But if you are struggling for even come up with one answer, maybe look at the things that you're not doing, or you're not passionate about, or you will never ever consider your time to waste on that thing. So process of elimination, things like that. So that would be my advice for the person out there listening, to say, how do I kind of find commitment? How do I stay committed? And it's like, well, most of the time we're committed to something already.
That's true.
That's the thing. So sometimes it's a case of you want to be committed to something else, but I'm currently committed to this, or I have an obligation to do this. So I got to find a way I can get to that. You know what I mean? That's more of a process of transfer or with information and skills. But for the ones that are struggling to say, I don't even know what I would be committed to, then, as I said, have a think about making a mental map, writing down some notes of things you're passionate about, maybe areas for improvement, and then taking it from there.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I would say for my answer to that question, for the first part, is a bit similar to what you said, Theo, making a mental map. But I suppose my one is more maybe the initial step. So before you go into making a mental map, is allow yourself to dream. I feel like when we're younger in education, toddler years, reception, nursery, we're taught to explore and dream and what would you want to be? You could be anything, an astronaut or anything you'd like. And then the more older, empowering, we're empowered to literally have the world in our hands, literally. We literally sing the song, we've got the world in our hands.
I know. I see school assembly days.
And then the older that we get, it's all of that is stripped away from us. It's okay, we told you this, but actually no, we have to trim it down a bit. It's don't think that, dream big but not too big. It's got to be okay, well actually the world is like this, so you can't really do that, and why not? You told me to dream big, so
that's it.
So I would say even just as adults, because that we've been sort of during education restricted in some aspects, is we should unlearn the restrictiveness that we've been been imposed by in school and those kind of settings, and relearn how to dream. That's what has helped me really try, because I'm a person, I've said previously in old episodes, that I did the process of elimination, and there was just so many things that I was interested in. I'm like a very busy bee. I like to explore different things, and like, so one thing that helped me initially to just like construct my mind and really try and see like where can this take me to, is allow myself to just let it take me to the like highest aspects as to where it can take me. So I dreamt the biggest that I could, and then started from there. So I would say like relearning how to dream, like honestly just dream and go as far as you can in where you would want to be and where you see yourself. And I got introduced to that aspect of relearning how to dream when I was reading about an entrepreneur. And I can't remember who it was. I want to say Richard Branson, but I don't actually know. So I might be giving him credit that he doesn't deserve. But but it was an entrepreneur, and who's someone as big as Richard Branson, if it's not him. And he basically he drew a picture of a house that he wanted. And that, his dream, he wanted a big massive house and with things inside, so he drew all of that. And years and years and years and years after, he built that house. He built that exact house, and it's exactly the exact house is what he dreamed. So I would say it, in a way, it kind of starts of how far you allow your mind to dream.
Agreed.
If you can dream it, you can. What's that saying? If you could dream it, you can make it happen. So I'd say dream, and then afterwards, like make that mental map and see how and what are the ways in which you can reach towards those goals and those dreams. But the only reason why I say that, like I said, it's just that we're taught differently now. We're taught not to dream, that things you can only go to as further as you can, or this area is not for you as a female, or this is not for you as minority, or but dream as furthest as you can, and then make a mental map of how you can get to those places. So that's what I would like share.
No, I really like that. I mean, kind of closing statement would essentially come and be, I think humanity is committed to not being committed, which is it's an unfortunate state.
Very sad.
That we talk about the attention spans, we talk about all of the other things, keeping people engaged for long periods of time, and also just willing to engage in long-term content, success, ideas, everything now is so difficult for you to actually see what it could become. Because before you actually get there, someone's given up or they've moved on to something more interesting. So I think there is something to be said about doing something that doesn't get as much shine and attention, but staying true to it, because if it provides value, that should be the focus, that should be the goal. And if you can broadcast that, great. That's why I thought social media would be what is good for, should I say? But what it's not good for is keeping people engaged for long periods of time. It's too instant, it's too quick, and now, like you said, the dreaming. We dream small because we see everything now. Back in the day, we didn't have all of this stuff to we wondered what other countries looked like. We wondered what it'd be like to drive this car, to do that. Now you can like have a POV on YouTube sitting in your it's a favourite car that you want. Soon we're going to have VR, which will be able to place you in that environment artificially. So we're stepping, I think, unfortunately, as much as we improve our networking and technology skills, our human skills are dying. We're slowly but surely losing our ability to communicate with each other, losing our discipline, losing our commitment to life itself. It's almost like we're just these robots moving through life. And it's an unfortunate reality. It's a sad reality when you boil it all down. But for anyone out there that's listening, and so we want to always have this as a positive, take these things on board and recognize that they can potentially affect your mental health, but only if you really allow them to. And armed with the right information and knowledge, you can solve any issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Solve any issue. Then it just comes down to like-minded individuals. Who do you share your energy with? Who do you share your time with? And just be very, very aware. And if it's a case of the people you're in and around don't have commitment, or the commitments that they do have aren't good ones, then maybe you have a consideration of, changing that,
setting boundaries and
be accountable, and hold people accountable around you, and but I mean, in terms of commitment, I think there's definitely some few things in there that I know will resonate with a lot of people out there, and is a major talking point, and it's a lot deeper than what we can obviously discuss in a short conversation. But I think it's important to highlight a lot of these foundation points when it comes to us discussing mental health and general health as well too, because mental health is a part of your general health.
Absolutely.
I think these conversations will continue to get deeper and more in depth, and especially when we bring people on as well. They can bring other perspectives. But is there anything else you want to add to that?
No, I think that was a good wrap up.
I think so too. Agreed. I think be committed, guys. Find what your commitment is.
Be committed.
Be committed. No, real talk. Because we all committed to something.
Definitely.
That's the thing. We're all committed to something, and
explore and find. Be open to explore and find what you're committed to. And
hopefully it benefits your life. That's really the goal. If you are committed to things, just make sure that they add value to your life, and they're not bringing you down.
And I think that's why it's important to sort of like you said, make a mental map of what you like, your passions, your interests, disinterests, and starting off with dreaming. Usually when we think of dreaming, we're dreaming of things that we like, that makes us happy. So start off with that foundation of sort of things that just naturally gravitate towards you as a person, and then from there forming commitments into those areas that you actually want to add value to, because that's what commitment will add. It will add that clarity and value to just something that you like. So I would say to just wrap that up is it is very beneficial to be committed in those areas that you want to add value to. So making sure that you're surrounding yourself with the people that will enhance that will add that clarity, that will help you to be more committed, and will give you that safe space for you, to allow you to be comfortable in your commitment to what you need to do, and will accept that. Because there's others that might not accept you. They might force you, peer pressure you to be like, no, come on, you need to do this. But there will be certain other people that will have the same mindset as you, and you can make sure that you surround yourself with those people that will give you the support that you need to be committed in your aspirations and what you want to be committed in. So
I like that. Well, guys, wherever you're watching this message, I hope that you are having a positive day as always, and as I said, we're just here to just kind of add a little bit more clarity to certain serious talking points that I think a lot of people will appreciate.
I think so. Absolutely.
But guys, we will catch you guys on the next episode. I am Theo,
and I'm Hali,
and we look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode, breaking down some more mental health points. There's a lot to get into.
Definitely, there's just a wide range of different topics and areas, and we're just very excited to try and cover as much as we can.
That's it. If we can help one person at a time, fantastic. And if you share that with somebody else, and then the message gets out there further. We just got to be available, be accountable, and just continue to keep growing.
Absolutely.
But until the next episode, guys, we will see you soon.
Bye everyone.
Peace and love.